Chapter 25 Sea Snakes. The morning blue sun roused Koby from his sleep. It was only a few moments before the hangover of last night's proceedings violently entered his mind. Nausea filled his mouth as he rolled and tossed in the blue satin sheets, the environment bewildering as his eyes tried to focus. Koby tried to orient himself. Dizzying, he surveyed the room. He threw the covers back and sat upright, the nausea coming up in a wave that struck him like a blow. His mouth felt dry and furry, with only making the sickness feel worse. He got himself up from bed, wobbling slightly, to find the bathroom, where he relieved himself and managed to get the shower going. Upon entering it, he crawled into the fetal position and remained there. Koby wasn't sure how long he stayed there in the water. The steam and water seemed to flush out the evils from the night before. What was it I heard? Koby wondered, as he felt half human again. He was forgetting something important at the banquet. He remembered parts of what the king had said after his speech, yet there was something else, something shocking. He managed to get to his feet, his nausea somewhat abating, before turning the shower off and stumbling back to bed. Upon approaching it, he caught a glint of a blue liquid sitting upon his bedside table. Hang on, read the label. Will stop you from being hung over. A small card was beneath it. Drink this and come see me. King Sidon. Koby gulped down the liquid. It tasted like sweet water with many bubbles causing him to burp. He felt a wall of nausea and pain intensify in his body, dropping him back onto the ground. He thrashed as the liquid inside him spread through his body, its effects making the hangover magnified. He thought his head was about to burst until suddenly it stopped. He blinked. He felt fine. He sat up, his eyes no longer stinging, his head no longer pounding. Then it came to him. Koby remembered the pair of men at the end of the table that sat at the banquet, two bald men who talked to each other via their mind links. Unbeknownst to them, Koby had heard what they had said, which was a dark plan involving the king. Something about the barrier and letting something in, but he couldn't remember what. They weren't too happy with Koby being named successor either. They mentioned an insurgency from outside the city to overthrow Koby. Incensed to tell the king what he'd heard, Koby got dressed in a blue suit and found his location from a nearby guard and hurried through the keep. Coming to the king's room, Koby found the door ajar and a strange sound coming from within. Koby saw the guards outside the door were crumpled on the floor, blood streaming from their bodies. In horror, Koby approached as the sound inside continued, a squelching, crunching sound. Koby's hand quivered as he pushed the door ajar to see inside. Within was a grey snake tearing open the stomach of King Sidon, ripping entrails from his torso and swallowing them in a sickening sound. Wide-eyed in horror was the king, his face stuck in fright as the monstrosity feasted upon him. Koby saw the creature and knew who it was instantly. Ashley, he breathed. Immediately, the grey snake creature dropped the king and locked eyes onto Koby, its face a mess of gore and blood. With a ghoulish cry, it sprang forth towards him. Koby stumbled backwards out of the doorway just in time to avoid the strike that tore the door off the hinge. The doorway's too narrow for Ashley to make it through, so he began to thrash at the structure, breaking the wall with demonic strength. Koby, Ashley hissed. Koby. It heaved against the doorframe trying to break through. It's good to see you. I missed you. Koby backed down the hallway as Ashley burst through, revealing himself fully. He stood nearly 8 feet tall as he slithered upon his tail, muscular torso, and scaly limbs. You've come so far just to die at my hands, he said, tongue flicking madly. You should have stayed home, and I could have saved you the trip. He lunged towards Koby, sending him scurrying backwards, an unnatural laugh coming from Ashley. So pitiful. And they call you the Singularity? You are just a freak, he spat. Ashley, Koby managed to say, what happened to you? I am now a servant of the Grey, said Ashley. My master has blessed me. Who is your master? Asked Koby, backing away. An unnatural laugh emanated from Ashley once more. Come to the maelstrom and find out yourself, said Ashley. Oh, I almost forgot. He ducked back into the king's room where Koby heard a sickening crunch sound. Ashley returned, holding the bloody stumps of King Sidon's legs with the blue edge still upon them. See you soon, Koby. Don't kill yourself, he said, and vanished from sight, leaving Koby alone in the hallway. Arrest him, yelled a voice from behind Koby. Koby turned to see a group of Ultramarines before him. He didn't do anything wrong, countered another Ultra. He was with that grey thing. You saw it talking to him, retorted the first. Koby shook his head and tried to speak, but no words came out, the weight of what he'd seen and heard like a dead weight on his throat. He was barely aware of the guards swarming towards him and dragging him to his feet. He didn't hear the gasp at the state of the king's chambers and retching. Koby was led away in a state of shock to his quarters. His head spun from what had happened, unsure what he'd seen and heard. It was real, he thought to himself. Ashley, King Sidon, the Edge, Maelstrom. What had Abe thought of sending him to that place? Did he know Ashley would become that? A knock came at his door. Koby opened it, revealing a group of ultras. You are to come to the council chambers immediately, ordered a male with a stern expression on his face. We will escort you. I know the way to, began Koby. You will be safer with us, said the ultra flatly. Please. Koby bit his tongue and was led by the ultras through the keep and into the city. Word seemed to have not reached the city yet, but Koby feared what would happen when it did. A rip took them to the council chambers. Right back to where I started, thought Koby. Upon entering, there were the chancellors seated above him, on elevated seats. Stand upon the dais, ordered the ear-like councillor, who interrogated his claim as the singularity when he'd first came. Koby glanced up and saw the depression in the roof where the monstrous sea creature had been. No thanks, I'll stay here, said Koby. Ultras, please escort him onto the dais, barked the eel. What do you think you're doing? Shouted a fish councillor, as the ultra hesitated to comply. He has murdered our king and stolen our edge, shouted the eel, and conspiring with the grey horde. He must be tried for his crimes. The ultras grabbed Koby and shoved him onto the dais, which immediately lifted, taking him too high up to leap without major injury. The dais halted to be at eye level with the councillors. Koby looked up and saw the shark monstrous tentacles beginning to appear in the dome, as though rousing from sleep. Koby locked eyes with the eel councillor. I've done nothing wrong, Koby shouted. The king was murdered by a grey snake and took the edge. He's the one who committed those crimes, not me. You know it, don't you? The grey creature, said the eel. We have witness of you talking to the creature, even calling it by its name. Do you deny it? I know him, yes, said Koby, drawing an audible gasp from those gathered in the chamber. He admits his guilt, trumpeted the eel, in direct contact with... But he's not who I know him as. He's been changed, argued Koby. Silence, thundered the eel councillor, cutting him off. The accused will not speak until spoken to. You are under allegiance with the grey creature, therefore guilty of murder. I didn't. I'm not, fumbled Koby, staring down at the ground, his self-confidence thoroughly shot. All in favour of execution of, began the eel councillor. Denied, said a powerful feminine voice. All the council rose, as from the seat beside the king came a long blue-haired woman, replete in armour. It cannot be, stammered the eel councillor. Queen Ella? It is I, replied the queen, her beauty striking with youthful exuberance, her body shape muscular, yet well-rounded, freed from my imprisonment at the hands of King Sidon. Gasp emanated across the council once more. You were deceived by the king, councillors, said Ella. I was not killed. He was too much of a coward for that. No, he locked me in the top of the tower until you, she turned her blue eyes to Koby, found me. Koby stared at the piercing blue eyes, feeling somewhat entranced by them. There seemed to be something dark behind them, something unsettling. It is because of you I am free, said the queen. Me? Said Koby, confused. Yes, you, said the queen, nodding as though to communicate a strong need for him to agree. Yes, I did, said Koby, catching on. Therefore, we will not execute him. Instead, he will be banished from the city and never to return. Banished? Said Koby and the eel councillor in unison. Your Majesty, he conspired with that grey monster, began the councillor. We were to have a coronation today. Now you just want me to leave? Said Koby aghast. The queen held up an armoured glove hand for silence. Our edge has been taken. If he is who he say he is, he will retrieve it for us, she said plainly. I do not deny my late husband's intentions of naming you as ruler of Liane Saroon, but you are not one of us. You must go out and prove your namesake. I have work to do here in Liane Saroon to undo what my husband has done. I do not need you distracting our people. Koby stared down at the ground, feeling a mixture of relief and disappointment. If you are successful, you will return our edge to our shores, but you must never come back, said Queen Ella. Your transport will take you to the surface. This council is dismissed. With that, Queen Ella turned and walked away as the dais descended down into the floor. The eel councillor glared at Koby before turning on his heel and leaving the chamber. Koby felt conflicting emotions as he stood alone upon the floor. The Queen had freed him, yet she didn't want anything to do with Koby, unlike the King. He mourned for the loss of his friend King Sidon and his belief in him. Koby felt now as though no one wanted him, forgotten as quickly as he'd arrived. Why did Abe send me here? Koby wondered. Why had he been sent here if he was to be treated exactly the same as he'd been in Jinder? Was this all kind of some elaborate puzzle? Believe in yourself, Abe's words echoed in his mind. What does that mean? He wondered. Was it the things Koby wanted to say during the trial, but he felt too intimidated to do so? How he believed the twins were behind the assassination of the king? Was it finding the courage to face Ashley within the maelstrom? He did not know if he had that within him. What about his claim of being the singularity? That seemed to trouble him most of all, as though a fraud. You must go out and prove your namesake, echoed the words of Queen Ella in Koby's mind. She entrusted him to go and retrieve the edge from the maelstrom. Was it sentencing him to death, or did she believe he was the singularity? Ashley had told him to come to the maelstrom also. Koby wondered what was in there, and who was this master Ashley referred to. Why did he appear so familiar? Time to go, said an ultra, coming up to Koby upon the blue floor, breaking his thought process. Koby nodded and glanced up at the depression in the roof, the octo shark drifting back into the dark waters and out of sight.